You are listening to the Music Mondays with MAZEMENT podcast. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. For more information, go to musicmondayspodcast.com. In this episode, I'm going to talk about how hip-hop was a major factor this past month in so many different ways. We're going to get into a few of those. We're also going to talk about some of the latest news, some things I've been up to lately, and then we're going to close out this episode today with an artist on call named Soluss from Detroit, Michigan. Don't go anywhere. Here it is. Welcome back to another episode of the Music Mondays with MAZEMENT podcast. I am your host, MAZEMENT. And as you heard, I'm going to keep this episode pretty simple, pretty quick. Surprising enough, it is going to be hip-hop dominant. I know I've said that I want to make this podcast more genre universal, mix in some other sounds and stuff, which I do plan on doing. But this month was such a big month for hip-hop, with between so many different things that happened, that I had to kind of cater this whole episode to be about hip-hop and kind of hip-hop oriented, which is why today's artist on call is a hip-hop artist from Detroit. So, first things first, here's a fact.
Music Mondays, music facts.
The University of Arizona Symphonic Marching Band was the first halftime headliner for the first Super Bowl in 1967.
Music Mondays, music facts.
Now you can just guess it that the Super Bowl halftime show is one of the things I'm kind of hinting at as being a big month for hip-hop here in February. It was pretty crazy. I mean, before I get into anything else, I do want to just say how much that meant to hip-hop in general. I just feel like I didn't hear too much negativity about it, even from people that you would think wouldn't like a hip-hop show or hip-hop halftime show when they're watching a football game. They loved it. I didn't hear anything bad about it. There were so many different layers to it. I was so excited about it. It was amazing, awesome show. Kendrick's choreography he had for his portion of it was what stood out to me the most, but obviously hearing the classics between Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and Eminem as well, and 50 Cent, who made a surprising appearance, really stood out and made it probably, if not the best, one of the best halftime shows I've ever seen in my lifetime. So hopefully we see more of that. I mean, I'm all for having different bands or different genres team up together on a halftime show. I don't understand why that's not done more often. This was just a hint of what it could be. Paul McCartney up there playing with pop star of today, or of next year. Her or something with Paul McCartney. It would be so cool to see that at halftime. It sucks because it is limited budgets. Rumor was that they didn't even get paid this year for the halftime show. It was more so just because you have 100 million viewers. So that's how you're going to make your revenue, is they're going to start buying your music after that, which I don't know if you noticed, but the week up to the Super Bowl, if you were watching the NFL channel or anything to do with football, it was all Eminem, all Dr. Dre, all there was so much of their music being played that they were already making royalties off of that. Not even that, but the amount of people that, not even that, but if they release something, which I believe Mary J did and Dr. Dre did right before the Super Bowl, then boom, you get sales there as well. So it is an iconic moment in hip-hop that they were all able to join together, and especially by being some of the biggest legends in that genre right now, and they all got to join together and perform together. It was pretty memorable. I've watched the show back over 3 times just to get that feeling of excitement I had on the first night. But I made sure this year I was not going anywhere for the Super Bowl. I had to focus. I had to watch because I was just waiting for weeks for this show to happen, and it came out. It exceeded my expectations. It was awesome. A group I mentioned on here in the past, Anderson .Paak, Bruno Mars, formed a group a while back. I mentioned it. It's called Silk Sonic. Kind of a funky, groovy duo that they have there. And I mean, Anderson .Paak, speaking of which, played drums for Eminem's set at the Super Bowl. But they landed a Las Vegas residency. I believe the residency is 1 month long. If you are in or will be in the Las Vegas area, be sure to check them out. A&E announced a James Brown documentary. It's actually produced by Mick Jagger, Questlove, and Black Thought from The Roots, as well as a few others, I believe. But just that diverse trio there caught my attention. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I got to check it out just because it's about James Brown and you got those minds behind it. It seems to be an exciting piece, and it's set to arrive in 2023, so stay tuned on that. Kanye West's trilogy is on Netflix now. It is called Genius, and that's JEN-YUHS. Now, the narcissistic side of this, I'm not a fan of, but what I am a fan of in this documentary series so far, there's only been 2 episodes. I went into it watching it irritated with Kanye as of late. You know, I wasn't that impressed with Donda. I mentioned it on here. You know, the only thing about Donda that stood out to me was revealed in the documentary was the love he had for his mom, and Donda is his mom's name, so obviously the album was a tribute to his mom or whatever. So yeah, like that aspect to it was pretty cool to me, like emotional, whatever, but musically I was not a fan of Donda the album. Now Donda 2's out, but that's a different story. Either way, this documentary gave me a different outlook on the whole thing. It reminded me of Kanye's beginning when I became a fan, you know, just before College Dropout. And then after that happened, that was, to me, the Kanye that I remember that as a talented artist, producer. And in this documentary, there's a guy, his name is Cootie, and I think Chike is another guy who produced it as well. But Cootie's following him around with the camera. Like, it seemed like every day from when he started, which I thought was awesome. And, like, I haven't seen that done too much, especially in a successful storyline. So you get to see, like, day to day what Kanye was doing. And he was hustling, like, going into the halls of Rockefeller Records to, like, play his song. And, like, all these places went into sessions with, like, Pharrell and Scarface, like, so many different iconic artists out there today that he just made sure he got a way in to show them his music, and that's what ended up, you know, making him as successful as he is today with his music. And it goes to show how much his music was appreciated back then, but it was relieving to see, you know, from wanting to watch the documentary just from an irritated side, just to see what it was about, to then have that change my perspective back to remembering the good Kanye. Now I'm eager to see where the documentary goes to show the transitional side, which I believe would most likely happen when his mother passes, because you could tell how paramount she is in his life in this documentary, and I thought it was so cool. Now, you might be listening to this and be like, okay, why do I don't care about a Kanye documentary, you know, if you're not a Kanye fan. If you were kind of in the same field as I was, where you were kind of irritated with him, I'm telling you, this documentary will change your mind on that, just because it'll show you the side of him before he became this pop star, you know, this tabloid, you know, front page guy. You know, he was much more of an artist before, and much more focused on, you know, the music itself. I don't know what happened throughout the years, but it seemed like that kind of transition to other things. But check it out. It's on Netflix. 2 episodes are out. New episodes come out weekly. Called Genius, as I spelled before. Let me know what you think. Hit me up at musicmondays@mazement.co. The final piece of news I want to bring up that has to do with this whole hip-hop being a big factor this past month is that Snoop Dogg is now the CEO of Death Row Records. Now, if you're a hip-hop fan, you know what Death Row Records was in the 90s. It was started by Dr. Dre, Suge Knight, and a few others like DOC, and I forget the other guy's name, my bad, but there was a few of them that started the label. Obviously, the star of that label, if you know about it, was Tupac. But for me, it was such a big thing to hear, because Snoop Dogg started off in death row as an artist, and he kind of built his way up through all that tension, through all that stuff that happened throughout those years. But Snoop Dogg has made a full circle and attained ownership of the label he started out with that signed him, that gave him his first opportunity in hip hop. So I thought that was awesome to hear. It goes to show, if you're an artist today, like, keep at it, because you never know what could happen. I mean, this is a perfect success story to hear. The other benefit to it that I don't think is getting too much light shed on it is the fact that Death Row still owns the rights to a lot of Tupac stuff that was never released, or even stuff that was released that got pulled off the shelf or whatever. I don't know. But either way, Snoop Dogg now has the power to release that stuff, or, you know, somehow gain the rights to it easier to put it out there for us to hear. So I'm excited about that too, to see how this happens. Obviously, him performing with Dr. Dre shows that they have the friendship too. So I'm sure Dr. Dre will be teaming up with him on certain label collaborations as well. But basically, the label was taken over after it went into bankruptcy in 2006. Snoop Dogg acquired it from them. Whoever took it over, I think it was Monarch. If I'm wrong, correct me. But either way, another piece of great news for hip-hop. I can't wait to see what comes of this whole transaction. Let's take a quick break, and then I got to tell you about this writing technique that I've been doing before we get into this episode's Artist on Call. I've been writing a lot lately as an artist myself. The latest way I've been writing is like kind of like a puzzle type. Like, I've never really written this way before. It used to be that I'd write one song all the way through and have it be done, and then, you know, record that, whatever, put that aside, move on to the next. Now it's like I'm writing a little bit on one, and then like I lose interest in that, so I'll move on to another one, write a little bit on that. So at some point, I'm gonna have like an album's worth of songs and release it, or have another artist release it, and I'll write it for them. But it's pretty crazy. If you're an artist listening to this, let me know if you write the same way, because it's like a new thing to me. Other than that, there's some news with my label, Rise Up Entertainment, that will be coming out soon. Some exciting things happening there. A lot of my focus has been there. I've also been, you know, tuning into certain things, like Dave Grohl was on Hot Ones. Literally the best Hot Ones episode yet. This might be the first non-hip-hop thing I'm saying this whole episode, but Dave Grohl was on Hot Ones. Got to check it out. He was doing shots with Sean, the host, so that was cool. Go check that out. It's on YouTube. Now, today's artist on call is a Detroit hip-hop artist named Soluss. That's Soluss. I'm going to say it 10 more times, spell it out for you, just so you know. But you got to check him out. He's starting out with some momentum. He's got some skills on the mic. I like how he changes up his style, which you'll hear about as we talk about his song he's promoting. We're going to get right into it with Soluss, and then we'll close out this month's episode. So stay tuned. Here it is, an all-new Artist on Call.
Artist on Call. Artist on Call.
What's going on, Soluss?
Hey, how's it going?
Awesome. Tell me a little about the name. Like, where did the name come from?
The name, you know, I was son of Andy for a really long time. That was my dad's name. But honestly, it was a little bit long, kind of hard to tell people, because they'd think it was like my name was Andy or something like that. So I basically, you know, I looked up a bunch of, it took me almost 2 years. You guys can work with it. It took me forever to figure something else out, but this is going to sound like it started with something really nerdy, and it did. When they remastered the Mass Effect games and brought them out last year, I was playing. I was like, you know what? Warden Solas is like my favorite character in here. You know, I blew past that, whatever, and then I started looking up like definitions and everything. And then in a handful of different languages, Solas means a lot of cool things. You know, it could mean solitude. There's clarity of sound. You know, there's a lot of different meanings for it. But added the extra S so that Bioware can't get me for for copyright infringement.
No, but like that's kind of crazy how it ends up being like such a simple inspiration at first, and then it opened the door to like the whole meaning and stuff behind it. And I'm sure like you related to that in a way too.
Solas is a nerd, and I'm a nerd. So.
And I could tell from your music. If you haven't heard any of Solus's music yet, you're going to hear some here. But go check him out. He's on all the major digital streaming platforms as well. Yeah. So who is Soluss? Like, who are you? Where are you from?
I'm from, I was actually born in Rochester, Michigan. I live in right outside of Detroit right now. I pretty much just kind of stay local. I did a little bit of traveling right before COVID hit and everything, and did a lot of shows for that. That was really cool. But I just try to make music about things that I love, and if other people happen to love them too, then that's even a bonus.
Oh, definitely, man. And like early on, like when did you pick up music? What age?
Snoop Dogg's Rhythm and Gangsta. I think it was 2003.
Oh, nice.
That was it. I was like, okay, this sounds really cool. And I made a lot of garbage between then and now. And honestly, a lot of it was garbage for the first like 5 years. Then I had a kind of a breakthrough. I met my two guys that I rap with, Ken and Bronson, and they kind of helped sharpen my talents a little bit. And that was it. I mean, they put me on to some stuff I had never heard of. They put me on Doom.
Yeah.
Put me on, Sean Price, a lot of that kind of stuff. And it really just opened up my ability to write and perform. So,
well, and honestly, it's funny you say the Snoop Dogg, because there would have been 20 other rappers being from the Detroit area that I would have thought would have stuck out more. But that's dope though, because I mean, Snoop Dogg's a legend.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, he's just so smooth.
Well, and being from Detroit, like the Detroit area, would you say that you feel pressure against you or with you, since you're following the footsteps of arguably, the best rapper?
It's hard to say. That is a really tough question. I would say more so it would hurt it. It would hurt. It hurts my momentum a little bit because a lot of people expect angry white guy from Detroit.
Right. Right. Well, no, and it's like those shoes are hard to fill.
Absolutely.
I 100% agree with that. Now, but I mean, now you said you have these two friends that rap with you. Is that a group that you normally put like record with and stuff, or is this just something like you're just messing with them, but you're Solas solo?
Yeah. So we actually all started together. Bronson, his name is Ronan Sumo. He's on a lot of my projects as Freestyle Fanatic. We all kind of had a rebrand over the last 2 years. So all the older stuff that's out, Bronson's Freestyle Fanatic. And then Ken, who used to be EX1, he's another guy. He's on this song that I had sent you, the Word Up song.
Oh, dope. Okay.
Yeah, he actually taught me how to produce. I produced all my own music up until this next project that comes out in like 12 days. And Ken actually is producing the whole entire thing. He's never produced anything for me. So I signed him up for a competition against his will. And I was like, hey, we're doing this thing. I'm coming over. And he's like, all right, cool. What are we doing? I'm like, yeah, you're making me a whole album. And he was like, oh, no. But then he kind of got on board and went and bought like the newest, biggest, baddest MPC. And now that's where we're at. So after 15 years of knowing this guy, thinking he's my Mad Lib when it comes to producing, I feel like, and we've rapped together, but we're finally making a cohesive project where he's producing and I'm emceeing. So it's really cool.
Now, do you have like a typical schedule of like how you're going to release moving forward, or are you just kind of coming up with stuff when you come up with it?
I just kind of come up with it. I used to release something on January 10th every year. It was my dad's birthday. It was kind of like a tradition that we would do that, but not anymore because it came down to, if you set a deadline that I have to have something out January 10th, but you're not ready by January 10th, you might put out something that isn't the best of your ability. So honestly, I did take a lot of time off. One of my close friends, James from Rave Tours, he kind of, he helped me with like a rebrand sort of thing. I took some time off and the new music's kind of going to be totally different. So I've got 4 projects in the work right now. Only one of them's coming out anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, and there's such a high demand for music now. I mean, for me, I was releasing maybe, 2 times a year, 3 times a year. And I was mad at myself for it because the artists I'm working with, they're all releasing them one a day, one a week. So I'm like, I know they're doing it right, but it's like I just couldn't keep up with it because I was doing so many different things, you know, and like to this day there's only a handful of records out there, so I know the demand. Now, is that something you have as a goal to like pump out more often, or do you like your schedule of every, you know, few months or twice a year?
I would say at the very least, I would like to do once a year.
Yeah.
I kind of got really backed up with, you know, everyone had a crazy last few years, you know. But, you know, I've got one project I'm working on with Aunt Belle. It's pretty much almost done. I've got a self-produced project that's done. Me and KO Ken, our project should be done within like a week or so. And I'm doing another project with Elijah Day from Clear Soul Forces, or, you know, the group formerly known as Clear Soul Forces, which is one of my biggest inspirations. I hope they get back together one day. But so we've got like 4 projects ready to go. I just have to record, you know.
That's like me and the Beastie Boys, but I don't think that's ever possible to get them back.
Right. That one's a tougher. That's a tougher situation, I think.
Oh yeah,
unfortunately.
Seriously. As an artist, are you taking it like? Do you see that as a sustainable thing, releasing once a year? And I mean, when you say release, you're releasing an album a year, right? Or a song?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
An album.
So what about singles? You're not. There's no anticipation to put out a few singles here and there.
I'm kind of at a crossroads there.
Yeah.
I think it's more effective to release singles, but my view of it is I like when albums come out, but I don't necessarily know if that's the most efficient way to release music now. So I have my self-produced project that I might end up breaking up into a bunch of singles. It's 12 songs. I might just, you know, send them out maybe once a month or bi-monthly. So
it does bring up interesting fact though, now that you say that, because a lot of times within the past year I brought up J. Cole's last album, you know, and like I don't know if you're a fan of J. Cole, but that I think was like my album of the year last year. I didn't really announce it on the podcast, but I talked about it enough. But like that, Pusha T comes out with like, these guys are coming out with these albums, and I feel like I'm enjoying listening to that all the way through, and I feel like I appreciate that as a consumer more than if they came out with a single. Yeah, it'd be great. Might listen to it tomorrow one more time, but that's about it. An album, like there was probably like 3 or 4 songs on J. Cole's album, you know, the off season that I loved, you know, that I was like, oh my God, this is, and I keep listening to them. So in a way, the album thing, it might be onto something. But it is, I mean, unfortunately for the past few years in the commercial mainstream world, it has been a single world where, you know, these singles are, and especially features with, you know, 100 different artists on it, that's been like the mainstream trend.
Yeah, seriously.
So I mean, you could have a point with the albums. I could see that being in your favor in that, you know, aspect.
I'm on the same exact boat as you when it comes to that. You know, I could hear a single like that was really good, you know.
Yeah.
And then never dive into the album, even if the album comes in later, because it's not really in my mind anymore. I love Earl Sweatshirt.
Yeah.
I heard Hive from Doris, and I was like, that was really good. And that was kind of it, you know. And then my fiance bought me the album, and I listened to the whole entire thing, and I was like, this dude has stuff that's so much better than Hive on this album that no one ever would hear unless they buy it. So I have a very strong attachment to like front to back complete projects, even if it's 3 to 5 songs. You know, I don't think you can get a whole vibe from one song.
No, I agree with you. And I like that. I like what people are doing with it, like what the artists are doing with the albums now, like creating this whole new world with it, instead of going like hip hop used to be just track for track, you know, like whatever. It didn't really go together at one point. Like there'd be a story, but it was, you know, now they're doing like ambience and like all this stuff in the production. It's like a movie, you know, the whole freaking album.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the local artists around here they have some really strong, what am I thinking? Like world building.
Oh yeah. Like their imagination. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's wild. Yeah.
Speaking of which, another wild thing, explain your inspiration with Polish folklore.
Oh, you know, my dad, super Polish. You know, I don't know how I got into it. You know what it was? There's a video game series from the 90s called Quest for Glory. It was a point and click adventure game. And the 4th one, well, they're all kind of based in different folklores. The 4th one was really heavily based in like Slavic and Polish folklore. You've got Domovoys and Baba Yaga and Wendigos. Well, that was like that's a little bit more Western kind of thing. But I just thought that was so cool. Like there's the domovoi that sits above the fireplace in the house of parents who lost children to protect the household from losing any more children. Like weird stuff like that. Like, or Baba Yaga who lives in a hut who has chicken legs. They can, House of Brown, now sit down, put some corn down and hop in the house. Like there's just a lot of really strange. They're very, very strange. And I like strange.
So it's like interesting. It like catches your attention that way just by being kind of out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, The Witcher is really cool to watch right now because pretty much every monster in there is based on some sort of, Polish myth or Polish legend. So that's really cool. Dude,
that is a dope show. Like
yeah.
I think we're on like the second season of it now. Like it's pretty dope.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's a really good call out. It's actually funny. We just watched an episode of that. So
I was going to, and I realized what time it was. Like my fiance and I got dinner, and we were like, "Oh, we could watch The Witcher," because we have one episode left, and didn't work out. Time didn't work out that way.
Yeah, no, that's a good one on there. Now, tell me a little bit about this song, "Word Up."
Yeah, so that's a song that I produced. It was on my album "Looking Up." I usually have like the unfortunate habit of falling into fast rap, which I don't really like that much for me anyway, or like heavier paced rap. So my intention for this one was to make something way slower than I normally would have, and kind of call out the idea of mainstream music, I guess, or the idea of like people saying there's no more good music, but they're not really looking for it is why they're not finding it. So
word up. No, okay.
Word up. Yeah. And Caleb Ken's on there. I just needed a verse from him. I mean, it takes, you got to summon him with the Genie's Lamp, all 7 Dragon Balls, and the One Piece in order to come find him. It takes him like 30 years to get on a song, but we got him. So
dude, I'm psyched to hear this, and you're all going to hear it right here. If you're listening to this on whatever streaming platform you listen to this podcast, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see the video version of this. This is Word Up, now available on all major digital streaming platforms by Soluss, and that's Soluss. We're going to get right into it, and then we're going to get right back to it with Soluss.
Whatever happened to the good music? Whatever happened to the good music? Whatever happened? Yeah, whatever happened to the good music? Reject the rap, send it back, say it's hood music. Sit back, relax, make you feel like you should music. I'm about to go in like, oh, I wish you would music. Everybody's just puppets with a merry life. Tie me to a string as I dive deeper than Barry White. Rhyme beast with like 9 feet on this very kite. So even when I'm fly, I'm close to grounded like a scary flight. And no, I don't mean a plane crash. Rappers biting common like saying the Dame Dash. There's this thing that's driving me wild. I gotta see what's up before it gets me down or it gets me at all. Lot of other rappers trying to get me to fall, but your boy cold as winter. Some are better than others. When I spring into action, turn competition to cinders. Word up.
Hey yo, these rappers wanna talk all the weapons that they brandish in they content. Nonsense, strictly kinda damaging, I can't handle it. Cause it's known to make your brain rot. I got that Naruto type flow, I make the pain stop. Oh, let me guess, you run around and make the thing pop. I'm cutting ties with you guys like samurais up in Bangkok. Gotta keep going, man, I can't stop. So what you got, a whole bunch of guns that you handling? Think you real cause you hold still like a mannequin? You better keep dreaming like that whole city's Anakin. Living in the fantasy, that's final, I'm dismantling. Spitting that Faraga that I burn you like Anakin. Or what you getting myth? Wanna riff like guitar strings, but my bars sting like double laser R wings. So go against our team, and I wouldn't advise that. Cause we stay flyer than that fox from the lilac.
That was Word Up by Soluss. That's Soluss. You can find Word Up on all major digital streaming platforms. That was dope, man.
Thank you.
Dude, like, I love the, like, kind of ska reggae type feel that you had to your singing there. That was kind of, was that improvised or did you have that planned?
No, it was improvised. A lot of times, I might have like a verse written, and I mean, being completely transparent, I might write a verse before we have the instrumental, and like we threw that on. I was like, I've never performed this before, but I can't remember, my phone number. I can't remember my age, but I can definitely remember hip hop lyrics. So like we threw that on in the studio, and I was kind of rapped, and while I was rapping, I was like, I can probably do like a little bit of singy stuff with this too. So
I feel like you could do like a whole album in the summer, like release it in the summer with just that style. Like dude, that's dope. Like I think that you actually have something there, to mess with and experiment with too. Because I didn't hear that side. Like when I was listening to your music, you have all these other different styles. It's almost like you could make an album in each freaking style you got.
Yeah, I would like to. I mean, I love it. My two biggest like inspirations for that aren't like hip hop is David Bowie and La Rue, pretty much. So I get a lot of inspiration from those two as far as I don't want to say unpolished vocals, but like if you mess up, could still sound cool. There's a lot of times David Bowie would mess up, or even Ellie Jackson from La Rue will mess up, and they just kind of continue, maybe a voice crack or a tone difference, difference, and they just keep going. I think that there's a lot more passion to that than re-recording it so many times. So I think in that song, my voice cracks like halfway through, and I was like, it sounds fine. It's whatever. That was recorded at Broken Horn Studios with Bucknell, and eventually him and I have like an idea. He's in a folk rock kind of band called Notes and Leaves, and eventually one of my things I wanted was make a whole project with them. They're awesome. So.
Dude, one thing about like music with me is I love the blending of genres, like bluegrass and hip hop, bluegrass with EDM, that type of stuff. That's what kind of inspired me, not early on, because early on I was into like old school hip hop and stuff, but like the EDM route, when I did take it, that's why I did it, because of that the blending thing. And dude, you're killing it on it. Like on that topic, like blending what you just did. Like I did not expect to hear that song when you sent me a song. That was not where I was going. And having like all these diverse influences, why did you choose rap? Why didn't you go to like an instrument or anything like that?
I have no idea. I really don't. Like, it might be. I really don't know what it would be. I can't explain it. It's something that I can make it and just feel good when I perform it.
It's it's the one that you gravitated towards the most.
Yeah, I think it's by far the most versatile genre. You can hear a rap with a country hook, or rap with an EDM beat, or rap with a synth background, but you might not hear that in other genres. You could have.
I feel like you're proving that, though. I feel like you're the proof of that, just based on what I just heard. I was like, yeah, it's totally different than what I was expecting, and I like that.
That's what I want to do. I don't want people ever to like. Not that this is what you did, but this does happen a lot. We talked about this at the beginning. People look at me. I'll jump up on stage. I've done a lot of shows. I've done a lot of shows in a lot of places. I jump up on stage, and a lot of times, I don't mean this in an arrogant way at all. A lot of times when I start performing, people are kind of like, oh, he can like rap. But I think it's because I don't carry myself in a way that of confidence really, or anything like that. Well,
I feel like this industry is so cutthroat that as an artist, you have to be a chameleon. You have to adapt to learn different things, play an instrument, like you said, have 5-10 different styles that you can kind of, move towards or move through, because it's so cutthroat. Like your last freaking shot with a label could be tomorrow, or last song out could be tomorrow, and then you're left to the wolves, it's on your own. At least if you have this bag of, tricks that you could just pull out at any moment, you could go any different way you want. You mentioned you traveled the country a bit. Was that as an artist, or was that just recreationally?
Oh, as an artist. I think the coolest thing that we got to do, Kaoken wasn't able to go. But we were we flew to Atlanta and we got to go to Stankonia, Outcast Studio.
Dope.
Got to ride around with Mega Ran, another prominent nerdcore guy. And we ended up meeting like CeeLo Green and Cujo and Gip and all those guys, and got to perform there. And that was crazy. That was a really good time. We actually, exclusive story here, we had some miscalculations, I'll call them, financial miscalculations for the night after the show. And I don't remember who it was. It was Bronze Nazareth, Cool Keith, I think, and Razkaz. And I want to say it was Razkaz who was like, hey, like we didn't have enough money to eat, but we were just like, well, we have enough money to get back to Michigan, So I want to say it was Razkaz or Bronze Nazareth. One of those guys ended up just giving us a bunch of money. Like, make sure you guys eat breakfast before you get on the plane. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was a life experience.
You have this particular style too that we were just talking about, and you travel a little bit. What do you have one location that like is on your bucket list? Like you got to go there, you got to perform, like a city you want to visit or anything like that?
I mean, travel wise, I've been trying to get to Japan for some years. My fiance and I had a trip booked in March of 2020, which obviously didn't go so hot.
Yeah, you wouldn't want it to.
Yeah. Performing wise, all of my favorite rappers are from New York. Every last one of them. I mean,
New York
and Detroit, but obviously I've done Detroit. So,
right.
Pharoah Monch, Doom and Price, rest in peace. Jean Grey, like all of those people, like I would like to find a way to do a show near them and, try to link some stuff up.
I like how you're naming these people, like these dudes that are like, I never even hear those names for New York. You're like naming, like, obviously Pharoah Monch, like everybody loves that, Doom, but it's like you would never hear those names first when someone talks about New York. Like that's pretty sick. Like that you're able to just reach there. Because I mean, most people are like so mainstream and so cliche. They're like, oh, Biggie, oh, this, and like they go down like Jay-Z. Right. It's like so easy to say that, but you're actually picking people that nobody would really think of. So that's dope.
For sure, yeah. And like I know Jean's not doing stuff anymore, but if she's ever doing a show in New York, I'm gonna try to open.
It seems like everything I've read about you and like this conversation I'm having about you, you're pretty strong on staying who you are and not letting anybody control you. So my question is, if a label came to you with a $2 million deal to become the artist that they want you to be, would you take it?
How long's the contract?
Let's say 2 years, so you get $1 million a year technically.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just took 2 years off doing absolutely nothing. So depending on the time of my life and what the contract brought after that, if I'd have to definitely look into the clauses and things like that. Like if they're like, oh, you can't make music ever again, then it'd be an N-O, capital N-O, Darth Vader at the end of Revenge of the Sith. No, but if it's like, hey, like 2 years, you're about to make 2 million and like, we'll make you basically, to put it bluntly, we'll make you famous. Like, heck yeah, I can take 2 years off, use that money, come back and bring my people up. I've got a bunch of people in Detroit that I feel like if certain people in Detroit, not talking about even me, like if I ever made it, sweet, like cool. But if I could put money into some of these people I know in Detroit, not even the dudes that I rap with, they'd be the ones that people would be hearing on the radio. They'd be the ones that people want to be like, but they don't have the, it's just hard to gain traction.
Oh, 100%, especially in a market like that. Luckily, like Detroit is kind of, a pretty popular city for hip hop. So, but like the smaller cities around the country, it almost seems easier to become a rapper in those areas because there's like nobody else. So it's like easy, New York, LA, Chicago, like these, Detroit is right behind them. Like it's hard as an artist because it's so oversaturated, especially New York and LA, obviously. But like, you're battling against some of the best in the world. It's kind of who's going to be the smartest with business decisions and understanding the industry. It's a lot about learning and everything. So, I hear you 100% as an artist, fighting for it. But what's your favorite part about being an artist?
Performing.
Yeah.
Hands down. Yeah. That's been like the hardest part recently. It's so hard to get shows and stuff, but I've got a really good group of people here that they take care of us. I don't even have any music with any of like a handful of these people, but like for instance, Elijah Day from Clear Soul Forces. He puts on shows and lets me and Bronson come through, or I'm sorry, me and Ronan Sumo come through and perform at his shows and in front of all of his fans. He's pretty generous like that. And then Crimson Alchemist and her manager, they've always got their eye out for us. There's this available, or there's this available, or come meet us up here. We're doing this show, stuff like that. So it's a pretty tight knit community. So we have been able to get some shows here and there.
To close this out, violin, saxophone, or banjo?
Without context, just like that?
That's it.
Okay. Violin.
Yeah, why?
Because I played Divinity 2, Divinity Original Sin 2, and my character plays a violin.
Hey, man, you can't get any nerdier than that.
No.
That's dope, dude. So to hear more of Soluss online, go to solussmusic.com. That's SOLUSS music.com. You could also find him at Soluss Music on all social platforms. You heard a little bit of what he sounds like on this episode, but you have to go check out his catalog because it changes up every song. Like I said, I did not expect to hear that here. I'm impressed. Dude, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you.
And I can't wait to hear more from you.
Thank you. Anytime.
So that's pretty much a wrap for this month's episode. Pretty big month for hip hop, as I stated. I hope you appreciated it. But if you are looking for other genres to be incorporated on this podcast, please let me know which ones you want to hear. Hit me up at musicmondays@mazement.co, or hit me up on any of the socials as well at the Music Mondays Podcast or musicmondayspodcast.com. Thank you for listening, and until next episode.